Hello, I'm Rachel Jones for the Finance News Network. Joining me from Noxopharm is Executive Chairman and Founder, Dr. Graham Kelly. Graham, welcome back to FNN.
Hi, Rachel.
Now, this month marks 3 years since Noxopharm listed on the ASX. What has happened in that time, and what can you tell me about the growth of the company?
Well, it's been an extraordinary 3 years. When we started 3 years ago with our drug Veyonda, we were confident that we had something that was going to be interesting and potentially transformative for cancer. And in those 3 years, we've completed one clinical study. We're almost completed a second one and about halfway through a third one. So it's been a very busy time. These are all stage 4 patients, very late stage. They've reached the end of their treatment journey. And we're now using Veyonda really as a final method of treatment. What we've seen is enough positive responses for us now to be convinced that we've got a drug that is going to be transformative.
Now, back in February, you announced some board changes where you yourself moved into the Executive Chairman role and Dr. Greg Van Wyk moved into the CEO role as well as Chief Medical Officer. What does your role involve? As
the company has grown over those 3 years, the role of CEO has become far more complex and detailed, and yet the company needs another level of supervision and outreach. So I've moved into that higher role. So what I'm essentially doing now is things like potential dual listing on a US securities exchange, speaking to potential strategic partners. I guess I'm providing thought leadership for the group. But Greg is a very effective executive. He's been a senior medical director in a large pharmaceutical company. He knows now what it takes to take this company from where it is now to its commercial endpoint. So I was very happy to hand the baton over to someone with that experience.
Excellent. And recently, NOX announced a new facility funding. What can you tell me about this?
Drug development is a very hungry beast that needs to be fed constantly. So this facility that we've just finalised, myself and the board believe was the best under the circumstances, where we're looking for flexibility.
And what will the capital be used for?
Primarily for this next stage of clinical trials. So we have 2 quite large studies to be started next year, and then a third smaller study. And of the 2 large ones, one called DART-2 is going to be our primary study. So using Veyonda with external beam radiation in late-stage prostate cancer remains our primary objective. So we intend next year to start a phase 2 study. This will be a multinational study involving quite a large number of hospitals and a large number of patients. It will be called an adaptive study, which means that we have the capacity to move it immediately into a final phase 3 study. Then there's another one called SEP2, which is going to be the use of Veyonda with chemotherapy in patients with a rare form of cancer called sarcoma. They're the 2 major ones, and then the third one will be using Veyonda in combination with an immuno-oncology drug.
And to the last question now, Graham, what can shareholders expect over the next year in the terms of news flow?
We're anticipating quite a significant news flow, Rachel. Typically, when you engage in clinical studies, you enter long periods of cones of silence. But we deliberately plan our trials so that there are interim reporting points. And that's primarily the news flow that we'll be getting over the next 12 months.
Dr. Graham Kelly, thanks so much for the update.
Thank you, Rachel.